Can you just explain to everybody what PEMF is?
All right. So pulsed electromagnetic fields are magnetic fields that are basically pulsing. And people are very familiar with and aware of often EMFs, which we consider to be hazardous or at risk. So the distinction between them is important because that helps you to understand what PEMFs actually do and how they work. So EMFs, let's define that first. EMFs, I consider EMFs to be, they're electromagnetic fields, but they're environmental magnetic fields. They're in the environment. They're cell phones, cell towers, microwaves, routers, Wi-Fi. They're all over the place. The most hazardous part of the EMF environment, for example, like 5G, that everybody's worried about. And then there'll be 6G, and who knows how many Gs there are going to be later. So basically, these are very high frequency magnetic fields. And they are electromagnetic, like sound is electromagnetic as well, and light is, and color is. So these are part of the electromagnetic spectrum, but they're extremely high frequency. So they're designed for communication primarily, right? So they're not designed for human use. Humans are sort of in the way, right? There are other purposes for that. And so what happens then is that the EMFs are, because of their signal characteristics, the wavelengths are extremely short, very, very tiny, right? And what they are broadcast out into the environment. You know, they just shoot out of an antenna into the environment, and they essentially go on into infinity. Actually, what they do is they bounce up through the ionosphere, through the capsule of the Earth, Earth's atmosphere. Now, because they're short wavelengths, they get absorbed in the body. They get absorbed in anything, material. A microwave oven is a perfect example of creating heat with microwaves. So a cell phone, for example, if you're next to the cell phone, if you're next to a cell phone tower, you're getting a higher concentration of the magnetic field. So it's more powerful, and therefore it causes, like a microwave oven, it causes more heating in the body than if a cell tower is 5 miles away. Anyway, that's EMF. So the signals are the wavelengths are extremely short, and they're blasting into the environment. We call that open loop. So basically it's open. It doesn't come back. A loop means it's coming back, but this is open loop, which means it doesn't come back. Pulsed magnetic fields are made by current flowing through a wire. So the thumb is the current, is the wire, and that's the flow of the current. And the current is basically going like this. It's pulsing at a specific frequency. So in our environment, it's 60 hertz. 60 cycles per second. And so that means the magnetic field is going like this. But it opens and it contracts. It opens and it contracts. This is called a closed loop. So basically the magnetic field does not go anywhere outside that wire except when it's like opening up like that. So that's a closed loop system. So there's a big distinction. They're not wavelengths because they're not shooting off into space, right? It's a pulse rate. And the other one is a tiny, tiny short wavelength, which pulses into the environment and absorbs into the body. Now, PEMFs, because they go like that, they go through anything that is not metal. Anything.
Okay.
It'll go through wood. It'll go through leather. It'll go through the walls. Right? But it won't go through metal. And when it hits metal, it basically bends around the metal. The metal doesn't stop it or block it or completely absorb it. It just bends around. So the PEMFs are designed for therapeutic use.
Yeah.
They're limited, right? You have to sit next to the coil to get the benefit from it. So that magnetic field goes into the body and comes back out. Into the body, comes back out. It doesn't keep going. That's an important distinction. So that means that there's no wavelength involved, really, but there is a repetition rate, a pulse rate, but there's no wavelength. That means no absorption. So the magnetic fields that we are producing with pulsed magnetic field systems, magnetic therapy systems, are going completely through the body. In and out, in and out. So they don't get a chance to stay in the body. They don't get a chance to do any heating in the body. A lot of people complain they don't feel anything from the magnetic therapy system. So if you get a weak magnetic therapy system, then you're not going to feel anything. Maybe feel a little warmth as it opens up the blood vessels in the back of the body. So those are the two major distinctions. So PEMFs are extraordinarily safe.
Okay.
And there are lots of PEMF devices, different types of PEMF devices that have been approved by the federal government for specific indications, like healing fractures, like doing treatment across the brain for depression. Even extremely high intensity magnetic fields, higher than most people tend to use with magnetic fields, do no harm to the brain. So they're extraordinarily safe.